this session, we're going to forget that you call yourselves teenagers. We will address you as tweenagers, because you are in between those adult and peer relationships and having to change the way you deal with them. Everything that grows needs space to grow in, and you're in the space between those relationships to grow to become an independent person, which we will explain to you as a self-managing person. I remind you that you have an experience of being with other persons in a family. From that experience, you know that where you have people together, someone needs to be in charge of what goes on. Otherwise, it soon develops into chaos. The relationships get in a mess, they collapse into squabbles and arguments and fights. The person in charge is the manager of what happens. In family, you have been under someone else's management. An adult manager called a parent or guardian, managing you for your own good. Who it was that took charge, dad or mum or both, or someone else, and how they handled taking charge of the family and you, is going to affect your ideas of being in charge of yourself and your relationships. At first, you'll start doing it the way you have experienced and seen. But then you'll be expected to check out how successful it is for you to be doing it that way. We said we would explain an independent person as a self-managing person. And that linking of independence with management is so that you'll get the idea that you're taking on responsibility with accountability, because no one can be a manager without that.
That sounds like taking on quite a job. A bit scary, but I like the idea of getting to be in charge of myself.
Of course you do. But if you don't take charge successfully, you must expect that the other people will take the view that you still need to have someone managing you.
That's what I want to get away from. I told you last session that I was getting pretty touchy about being bossed or pushed around by authority. I really need to grow out of that.
Sure, but growing out of that is growing up into a freedom that is responsible and accountable. I don't know if you remember an old song
about having one without the other. I just thought about it. There are things that go together and you can't part them. To have one without the other, like a horse and carriage, it was actually about love and marriage, as I remember.
Well, that's for later. But for now, we'll stick with having the responsibility for how you manage yourself and how you can be called to account when that management affects other people badly. Because your right to have and continue self-management depends on how it's exercised. A bad manager will soon be in trouble. The first thing to do as you move in amongst other people, like here at college, is to manage yourself. You don't start by managing others. So let's summarize what we've been saying and put it in a nutshell, as they say.
I said it was a bit scary to realize how much I'm taking on. but it's a challenge I have to take on. How do I go about it? What are my resources for achieving it? We shouldn't be expected to do something without the resources to do it.
If what you were taking on was building a house, you would know to head for a builder's supply merchant, wouldn't you? But the materials for the job that you have on hand have come with you already from your background, all stored in that rope. It's your resource line.
Are you saying that especially my family experiences is going to dominate the shaping of my friendship experiences?
Yes, as long as you also take into account that your family relational experience has been the major shaping influence on you as a person. It's how you are as a person that's going to be the major factor in shaping your relationship experience. How you are and how you see yourself as a person. What we call your self-awareness, which is much more important than how other people see you. Now that greatly affects the persons you choose to be with, the ones you feel really comfortable with. You're at home with those who are like you.
I find it quite interesting to think about how my friendships happen, how to choose my friends, why some people appeal more to me than others. Hey, it sounds as if you're on the point of telling me something.
Well, if I'm going to, in order to do so, I have to introduce a new idea that you probably haven't thought much about. But it's a very important concept.
Concept? Aha! That's where I come in. Concepto!
That's the one I want to talk about. Sameness and difference. People the same as or different from your awareness of how you are yourself. Once you have a way of looking at yourself, you'll favor people who are like that picture you have of yourself. And you could have a vague dislike of those who are unlike you, different. For example, if one of the main features of your self-picture is ethnic, you will be inclined to choose your friends in your own ethnic group. A Pacific Island person, a Maori person, a European person will be friendly towards the same. Whereas if you've been brought up to see yourself in a social or class way, lower, middle, upper class, then you will see others in a class way. And the kind of house they live in, and the sort of jobs their parents have, and how much money they seem to have, will be important. What we call a socio-economic way of seeing ourselves and others. So you see how it works. What you need to realize is that for your independence to be successful, you are going to need to get on with other people, with lots of other people. You will be in an ever-extending range of relationships in which you will need to manage yourself. How about bringing on that nutshell again?
This talking about managing sounds good to me. I think I'd like to be a manager, have a job as a manager. Tell me more about it.
Well, why don't I take you to meet up with a real manager in a real job as a manager, so he can tell you what it takes.
Did you want to see the manager? Okay, here, I'll just call him. Okay, yeah, he wishes to see you. Just go down to the back of the store and he'll be at the staffing entrance. Okay.
Hi, my name's Jake. I am the team leader at the warehouse in Kaikoui.
The way you say that in Māori is, I'm a kaitiaki, not a big boss.
The main focus of a team leader is to cultivate his team. My main focuses are in people's skills. Listening is possibly the most important on top of the list, and giving clear direction that can be easily followed so that everybody gains from the situation.
Taking time to listen and then giving people clear instructions so they know what to do. That would work well for parents and families.
I would look for, in a trainee team leader, I would look for their ability to be self-motivated. I would look for their ability to keep time and to be constructive in their work process. I would look for them to make a lot of mistakes, because without making a mistake you can never learn the correct procedure in the first place.
He says that a self-managing person is driven from the inside to be positive and constructive. That's being in the driving seat to go places.
That is an important issue in our industry, that each person is aware of the dangers that they can cause and the safety of their team or their environment before we even get into doing any business.
You have to know how to avoid hurting yourself and being a danger to others.
So for a trainee, the steps that they would take would be to understand the 4 principles of retail, as we call it at the warehouse. They would go into different environments for a period of possibly a month to 6 weeks, and by a different environment I mean a different store, where they would work under different managers. Not every manager or team leader is the same. At the warehouse in particular, we love individuals. We like people to be different because not everything is correct. You can't do something correct according to one person. Each person has to have their own view on the way that they deal with the retail environment. So they would work under different managers for a period of a year, different stores for a period of a year. They would also get to work with the team members in that department on a buddy type system, leading by example, giving good direction.
My team coach is that sort of trainer. He moves us around so we can handle different places in the team. But change requires being adaptable and flexible, willing to take a change and give it a go. That's treating a change like a challenge.
Okay, so I've had a great deal of pleasure talking with you guys. I hope that some of the information that I've talked about sticks with some of you. For me, I believe that there's a huge future for young people. All you need is the determination. You need to sort it out what it is that you want from this life or from this particular session. Make your minds up and go for it. It's unlimited as far as I'm concerned. What you can achieve is absolutely unlimited. All you need is to focus on it and deal with it, and you will be rewarded for that. Thanks a lot, and I hope you have some fun with this session.
Here's the blackboard for today. Question 1. What's another description of an independent person? Question 2. What do you expect the manager to do? Question 3. In becoming a self-manager, what do you have to accept? Discuss some situations that demonstrate the application of this R and A to you. Question 4. What would you expect to happen to a manager who affects others badly? Question 5. What's another way of saying a person's self-awareness? Does it affect their way of relating to others? Next week we'll start off with a plane ride. See you then!